As one who goes home to South Carolina often to visit family, I'm kind of curious about Lindsey Graham, Senator Graham. He used to talk about and write editorials about how he had a new constituency on college campuses because of his environmental stance. And now we've lost him, an important bipartisan voice. Is it really about immigration, or is there something else?
It was never about immigration, even for Harry Reid. It was about currying favor with Latino voters in Nevada, Colorado, and California. Here's what I think about Lindsey Graham. As his mentor, John McCain, turned away from climate action after a decade of being a real leader on the issue, that left exactly nobody in the Republican Party talking about this issue in the Senate. Lindsey Graham stepped up and donned what I call McCain's mantle of climate courage. The Republicans saw him stick his head up out of the foxhole, and they started shooting at him. He was censured by the South Carolina GOP for standing up with Joe Lieberman and John Kerry and saying we should put a price on carbon and a mandatory cap on pollution. That was a profoundly uncomfortable place for any Republican to be, even one who likes to be a maverick. And he did it because he thought the Democrats were serious about moving a bill. Then he came to believe that they weren't serious, and the reason he believed that was because Harry Reid, the majority leader, stood up and said, you know, maybe we ought to do immigration first. And that was really the last straw for Lindsey Graham. It was in all of the Democrats' interest to pretend that they were going to do something about this, even if they weren't. The only guy in whose interest it was not was Lindsey Graham, because he was getting pounded by his base. He then proceeded to flail all over the place and talk about why you would want to cap carbon even if you didn't think global warming was real. He became progressively more incoherent. In the last week, he's announced that he'd be in favor of a cap in the utility sector, which happens to be the only compromise that's left on the table that could actually happen this year, in my view. A cap on the power sector would be a baby step, but it would be an important baby step because the power sector produces more than a third of all the global warming pollution in the U.S., and if we could cap it, we could prove the Chicken Little's wrong, we could shut them up once and for all, and then we could extend it to the manufacturing sector and the petroleum sector.
But your book is full of people who say they want to do the right thing. Jim Rogers wants to do the right thing. He thinks about his grandchildren. He just wants someone else to pay for it. Well, and everybody wants someone else to pay.
Here's the deal. Everybody wants to be the hero of their own movie, right? And, Jim Rogers wants to be the hero of his movie. He wants to be the guy that helped get this done. And what did Rogers do? Well, he helped bring the utility industry on board to support climate action. That's a big deal. We wouldn't have had the Waxman-Markey bill pass the House without Jim Rogers doing that. Now, who should pay for it? Let's be honest. When you talk about polluter pays in this context, you're talking about the polluter's customers paying. That's why any climate bill needs to cushion consumers from the rising costs of electricity. Because if your electricity rates double in the first few years of a cap, we're going to repeal that sucker. The American people are not going to do an environmental act that is not economically sustainable as well as environmentally sustainable. So it's not just that Jim Rogers is greedy. Those free allowances, he was going to have to pass on their value to his customers. I'm not saying the guy is an angel, right? I call him the silver-tongued devil in my book. But frankly, we need a climate policy that gets silver-tongued devils on board, or we're not going to get it done.